There we go. Zeeshaan Lakdawala, the
Yep.
wood salesman. I love it. The seller of wood. Zeeshaan, how you doing
That,
this morning?
that's me. I'm doing great. Thank you, Victor, for having me on. Yeah, looking forward to talking to you.
I was
Hey,
actually
know each other.
I wanted to ask you, where are you dialing in from today?
I'm in Dusseldorf, in Germany, actually.
Oh no, we don't like people from Dusseldorf.
Oh, that's too bad. Well, if it helps, I did spend a couple of years in Barcelona, and I am
Uh,
planning a move back there. Yeah.
okay, excellent. We'll have you back. No, I enjoyed Dusseldorf and Cologne and Frankfurt and Munich. Um, and if I get really really drunk, then my German sounds much better.
Oh
So,
yeah. Uh,
and the thing is, Zishan, I don't drink alcohol, so usually if I all I need is one glass of wine, and I start singing Whitney Houston and talking in German. So it's actually quite easy.
Well,
So
you could try
anyhow,
singing Whitney Houston in German. How about
all
that?
right, well, we'll do that when you're back in Varna.
Sure.
That will be a big change. Hey, welcome. People who are just tuning in, we have Zeeshaan here on Metropolitan this morning. If people know, Metropolitan is always thrilled to have people who have basically moved to Barcelona and made it their home. We like to add value to the community. We like to talk about cultural things, current events, as well as we have a predilection for talking about entrepreneurs and cool things that people are doing. And Zeeshaan, he has a really fun, awesome company that's going to help people get better views, make more sales, and have fantastic images. So, Zeeshaan, are you ready to jump right into it?
Yes, absolutely. Let's do it.
Okay. So, tell us in, say, 10 to 15 seconds. Tell us about you, yourself, and your cool name.
Sure. I'm originally from India. I grew up in Mumbai. I moved around a lot also within India. I moved to the Middle East where my dad worked for a while. Uh, then I worked for a bit in India. I moved to Europe, to the Czech Republic in 2015. Worked as a programmer. I studied computer science. Um, Trying to start up in Hamburg. That's where I got the bug to start something. Um, and then I was like, I want to be a T-shaped person. I don't want to be only good at one thing. My ancestors probably just good at selling wood. I want to do more than that, right? Wood being my software engineering. And so I decided to do an MBA. And I don't think there's any city in the world that has more MBA colleges than Barcelona. Like MBA colleges per square meter is probably, you can't go a single street without seeing an MBA college on the side. So I went to ESA Business School in 2019, just before COVID. But it was fantastic. I got a whole new perspective on things. Done with the MBA, I moved back to Germany to work for Johnson & Johnson for a while. And then quit about a year and a half ago. And started two things at the same time. I had a son about a year and a half ago, and at the same time, I started a business because I wanted a challenge.
So, two types of startups.
So two types of startups, yeah, at the same time, and it's been with both of them. It's been very nice.
So, what's your son's
Worth
name?
it. Ness Lakdawala. Yeah.
All right, cool. I like it. And so, tell me about the startup that you have created with Tanya.
Yes. So the goal of our startup is to get people great photos to show on their portfolios. So this makes a big difference, right? Most people now are found online through a CV or through LinkedIn, things like that, right? And your photo makes a big difference. Nobody has the time to get a professional photograph. So what we do is we take regular photos of you, and using AI, we just dress you up. We make you look like you're wearing a suit, a professional photographer has taken your photo, you're a professional with a great background. And we give you 100 photos like that, and you can choose the ones that best represent you. So we basically curate your digital identity. That's like, let's say, our goal. And we want to do this in an affordable way. So
Fantastic. So, all right, let me get a little bit more background about you and what you're doing here. Now, you have this
yes.
really cool son. You got this other project. You're building is it an app, or is it how does it work?
It's a website. So it's just a website you go on. It's as frictionless as possible. You go onto the website, you upload a bunch of regular selfies of yourself, and we turn them into professional headshots. You don't have to make an account. It's really simple. You don't have to download anything onto your phone. The whole process takes about 1 to 2 hours. On our side, on your side, it takes like 5 minutes, and that's it.
Okay. And so, why did you choose to come to live in Europe?
Well, something that's helped me all through my life is to get out of my comfort zone. And that was a goal for since I was a teenager. I just wanted to do things that are difficult because I discovered early on that this is where most of the learning and the value or the satisfaction in life comes from. And what way to be in a new environment and to be an expat in a new country, right? Where everything is new. I wanted to not understand anything around me and then learn it, you know?
Okay.
So it takes a certain personality type as well to enjoy that, because there are definitely challenges associated with this, right? It's not easy. You have to be switched on all the time. So I would have a long day of work until 6, then I would go for German class or Spanish class in the evenings, and then after that try to have a social life at the same time, because if you don't, you will be alone. When I moved to my first country I moved to was the Czech Republic. Actually, I literally knew zero people, zero. Or when I moved from there to Germany, I knew zero.
Why did you
And
go to
if
the Czech
you
Republic?
Oh, I just wanted to move to Europe because I thought, hey, Europe's cool. It's like I can travel a few hundred kilometers and I can learn a new language and I see a new culture. And I just happened to find an internship in the Czech Republic. And
Okay.
so that was a bit of a chance thing as well. This is another thing that I've noticed also. A lot of things are just about perseverance. You just try enough times, right? Whenever there's an element of chance involved, that means that if you try enough times, you can get successful. That's another thing that I feel like I've learned to like. Also with entrepreneurship, if there's a small chance of success, you just try enough times. And
So, what is the biggest challenge that surprised you as a person who has now lived in multiple countries?
uh, it's time away from family. That's the big thing. That let's say it's a con. It's not even something you can overcome except by just going home as often as you can. But I miss major milestones, right? Like my sister had a child and I couldn't go back at that time. I was there. And as I grow older, I this is the thing that affects me the most, that I don't have time to spend with my family. Um, and it takes some time to understand the city well. For example, you move to a new country and you fall sick. You need to find a doctor that you can explain your condition to in your language, right? I mean, it's all fun and games to learn a new language until you're sick and you have to explain the problem to your doctor, right? That's there's challenges like this that it's just a part of the expat life, and it's like something I didn't expect, but yeah, this is also the reality of it, right?
Well, I think I'm glad you mentioned that because that's actually um, a content cluster, if you will, for Metropolitan. People don't take their healthcare quite seriously, but when they're in another
Oh,
country and they don't know how to express themselves in their mother tongue, that's an area where you realize how specific, how intimate it can be. And we're lucky, I think, that we're men because women have a little bit more complex bodies, and there's also a lot of chauvinism here in Spain, and I imagine in Western Europe that women also have to put up with. So we you become more sensitized to some of the challenges that people have to deal with when you become an expat and you have to depend on a network of people and you have to basically recreate it. So hopefully you
yeah.
don't have too many problems right at the beginning when you're still kind of creating a network of friends of professional contacts. And so that was a surprise for you. What is the one that you said you were here, then you went to Germany, and why are you going to come back?
Well, because of exactly what you said, we've built this really great community of friends in Barcelona. I think Barcelona is really conducive to doing that somehow. I can't put my finger on it, but it's just we have a strong community of friends there that I built during the MBA, and we just want to go back to that. Especially with the son, we need a community right now with the family. When I say we, I mean my wife and I. So we're gonna move
Sure.
together that back. Um, that's the big reason. So we love our friends we made in Barcelona who still live there. So we're going back for that. And then secondary is we love the lifestyle of Barcelona. It's very outdoors, very fitness oriented. It's got the beach, it's got the mountains, and that suits our personality type a little bit. Dusseldorf it's nice for what it is. It's a small city that punches above its weight, but it's missing that little factor of great outdoor life, for example, or just a very very vibrant international community. That's one of the big things we're moving back for. Yeah.
All right. One of the things that I found also really interesting is that I was really happy to hear that you wanted to do the interview because you'd already lived here and then you left and now you're thinking about coming back. And
Yeah.
so the perspective of somebody who has been here and then left, and then Barcelona. The Catalans say, "Well, Barcelona pulls you back." So I was here for
Yeah.
5 years, left, and now I've been here for another 22. And
Wow. Okay.
where it's interesting to see what you learn when you're gone, what you value more. You might have even valued when you're here, but then you go and then you're like, you know what? I want to come back to that. At least you know what you're coming back to on this time around. And but starting a company is always hard, whether it's in your own country, your own city, and in your language. But if you go to an environment where it's not the people don't speak your mother tongue, you don't have a network established there, and you want to start a business, that takes a lot of guts and a lot of courage. So hats off to you because it's tough anywhere you go, but it's even harder when you go abroad. So let me talk to you about setting up a business that is booming in Barcelona, or it's just booming period. And tell me what it's like to build a bootstrap business to six figures, and some of the challenges that you're facing.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. It's it's a luck thing, like I mentioned before. So I've actually tried to start about 5 to 6 businesses previously. We I started by importing little wallets from Alibaba and then selling it on Amazon back when I lived in Germany. Because I read that, hey, this is an easy, like a low barrier to entry business, and so I tried this, and I learned about import, about having things manufactured in China, about importing things. And we moved on to curating laptop bags and just selling laptop bags, focusing on a niche because we realized, okay, Amazon's taking a big cut, so we built our own website and we started selling from there. Um, and then I started a freelance business where I was just working as a software developer for hire, like a bounty hunter. So I learned that aspect of it as well. And actually, there's even more. There's not. There were a few more that saw come in my mind, but the point is that with all these businesses, each time it failed or ended at some point. But I learned a lot. I would say I learned more from these businesses than from the MBA as well. And each time you do it, your chance of success is a little bit higher. It's never going to be 100%, but if it's like 5% and you try like 15 to 20 times, your success rate will maybe reach 50%, right? So it's a numbers game. It's also really critical to have good co-founders. I think I would not be able to do it alone. My wife is a designer, and I develop things. So this is already combines well in general. So many of my previous companies were also started with my wife. We were missing a little bit of the marketing aspect, which Tanya brings in. Tanya is brilliant at the whole PR and marketing. Tanya is our third co-founder. So again, we got lucky, and I met Tanya through a friend at the MBA. So also the MBA paid off in that aspect. It's a cliche, right? People say it's the network of the MBA, but that's also so true. It's just that's one of the key takeaways of it as well.
But it just dawned on me we haven't named your company. So
It's called Sure, yeah. It's called the Multiverse.AI, and it's at the Multiverse.
AI.
Yes, and it's at the Multiverse.ai. That's where it's at.
Okay. And so, in terms of building it to six figures in revenue, what do you think has been key to your success to grow? Because how long ago did you start the company?
Exactly 18th May is when we had our launch, but I started building this thing from November. There was this big jump in AI in the end of 2021, right? Where in let's say October of 2021, this business would have been impossible because the technology just didn't exist. And then by November, December of that same year, there were just so many things launched in that period. ChatGPT, a few imaging models, and so suddenly the technology enabled something like this to be possible. Earlier, there was just like face swaps and things like that to get good pictures, which was no good, not really usable. And so I just happened to be interested in this technology at the right time as well. So also that fell into place. And just one day Tanya, me, and my wife, we were just talking about AI in the room, and we were like, hey, this new technology that's just developed, we need to leverage this into a business. We can actually simplify this for people. And at that time, we didn't know exactly what we wanted to do with it. The first idea we had was we learn what people look like, and then we just make cool images themselves, like a cartoonish image, or them as a superhero, or them in a futuristic style. And actually, that was our first version that we built out, where people could choose their styles. And it was an afterthought to add a style of professional.
Huh.
And that just ended up, people just ended up, like 95% of all our customers ended up buying the professional style. And so then we realized, okay, so this is it. It just clicked, that, okay, this is what's creating real value. The other stuff is a toy. People don't really care about that so much. And so we just got rid of everything else and we doubled down on just professional headshots.
All right, then I want to ask you this. So you're still relatively young. What's the biggest mistake that you guys have committed at this stage of the Multiverse.AI?
It would probably be hiring maybe too soon and maybe not correctly. So hiring is something that was new to me, to find the right person. And we wasted a fair bit of time on this and also some money. I tried to save money. We hired someone that I assumed I would train, but it ended up sucking a lot of time from my day. And maybe I didn't quit soon enough, and so I wasted a little bit of time on hiring. So I would probably say go as far as you can first by yourself. And if you're hiring, maybe take your time with this decision as well. Like, the best is to hire someone you already know. So one of our first hires was my sister to help us with customer support, and that was so smooth. But of course, you can't. I have just one sibling. I can't. There's no more I can do, right? If I had 6 or 10 siblings, that would be fantastic, right? We could turn it into a nice big family business. But I'd say that's one mistake we made.
What do you mean? What was the mistake?
Oh, the mistake was hiring too soon and not putting enough effort into it.
I see. Okay, got it.
Yes. Yeah.
And in terms of what's it like to, what do you call it? Say, have a business that's run completely remotely, because you and Tanya, I guess your wife and you are together, but who else is in the company?
Tanya, me, and my wife.
Oh, it's just you three at the moment.
This is the 3 of us as co-founders. Yeah. And we have some people that occasionally, contractors that come on to help us. Yeah.
I see. Okay. And are you ever going? What's the biggest, I guess, challenge of working in a remote fashion? Have you ever done that before?
Well, Tanya lives in Barcelona, and this has been it's often a challenge. When we started the company, Tanya was living in Düsseldorf. And there's something magical about having your team physically working in the same location, all working towards the same goal. We used to have sprints where we used to just all meet here at home, define a goal, and we just all sit next to each other and just work. And we were all so productive, and we were all in flow state. It's magical. With Tanya moving to Barcelona, it's harder to get aligned. So we're often running in different directions, or there is miscommunication when we chat. When you type a message, there's missing tone. You don't see the person's face. So we sometimes had disagreements, miscommunications, primarily because we're not in the same location. When we hire, it's again online. The developer we hired recently online, it didn't fully work out, because I wish if I had met him in person, I would have understood. Maybe if I could interview him in person, I would have had a better idea of his skill set. So things like that are the downsides of running a business remotely. But there's huge upsides, which is this concept, which I really love, which if you have a laptop and you have an internet, you can do productive work from anywhere and at any time. And this concept for me is I just love this. Of course, it's an element of privilege here. You have to have the skills that can leverage this, no doubt. But I have taken full advantage of this. I now go for large periods of time to India, where I spend time with my family. I work on their schedule. So when the kids are free, I spend time with my sister's kids. I spend time with them, or my parents. And then I work when they're asleep, for example. When we go on family trips, we went on a family trip to the interior of India, and I just took my laptop along with me and internet, and I could handle customers. I was sitting on the bus at one point, and there was a customer who had a problem, and I just switched on the hotspot from my phone and I solved it from the bus, right, with my family around, still going on my holiday. So that's amazing. And I think just like a few years ago, that was not really possible. Or let's say like 10 to 15 years ago, it was way harder. And like 20 or 30 years ago, it was like people couldn't even grasp a concept like this. So I love that, but it does come with challenges for sure. But once you know them, you can account for it.
All right. So then, I wanted to ask you, what do you value the most in terms of skills in today's rapidly evolving, changing, both technological landscape, business landscape, capital raising? The life of an entrepreneur always sounds kind of sexy, but you know what? Sometimes it really sucks because you work with very close friends. They're counting on you to pay the rent, and sometimes getting cash in the door can be tough. And so, what do you value in terms of most skills from the perspective of a business owner that you are?
Yes. So there's the hard skills and there's the soft skills. Right? In terms of the hard skills, I think the ability to program a computer is fantastic in modern times, especially now with everything, with a lot of services moving online. I think the ability to program a computer is fantastic. A computer can basically, a lot of the computer is like an employee for me that works all day and all night, and I don't pay it anything in some sense. So that's one. But there's one huge new one that's coming up. And so there's this line that people probably know, some people probably know. Steve Jobs said that a computer is like the bicycle for the mind, which I kind of intellectually understand. But I really fully grasp this metaphor with AI or AI chatbots like ChatGPT. When I'm using ChatGPT or a chatbot like this while working, that really feels like a jet engine for my mind. Because I have an idea, and I can drop it in a ChatGPT, and ChatGPT takes that idea really far for me with many things, especially with programming. It's developed to the point where I design the architecture at a high level, and I put that in a ChatGPT, and it can write out code for me. Things that would take me days, I can do in a few hours. And it's critical that people leverage this, because I do see people who still haven't fully understood how useful ChatGPT can be. They don't fully use it. Maybe they're on the free plan, but this is amazing for me. And I would be very happy to have my employees use ChatGPT. Also, when I had a programming test for a developer, I told them, please use ChatGPT, do whatever you need to, use any online tools available for you to do this. So I think the ability to leverage AI is a big one.
Well, okay. So now that I'm on this subject, most people have a very cursory, superficial understanding of ChatGPT. From what I understand, people are basically using it for just prompting and asking some questions and generating some very light copy. I am one of them. And so I would like to be much better, but I get really confused. So I do encourage my team to use it effectively, but use it judiciously. So that, because we write copy for magazines, and we want to make sure that the stories are real, and you can't really substitute. So far, I don't know how you can substitute the experience of people who have lived in Barcelona and have their unique stories to share and their anecdotes. Certainly, ChatGPT has the ability to, I think, aggregate all these different things and be very powerful. But somehow, I'm not effective in two areas that I hope you are much better than I. I don't know how to effectively run a remote team with an early stage company. So I have tremendous respect for the people who are able to do that. One of the guys is Alex Rodriguez from Startup Grind, where I met Tanya. They've been fully remote from day one, and we can develop powerful team spirit. But usually there's a period where we need to be together physically, because, as you said, there's a magic that just happens when you're sitting right next to each other. But then the use of AI and just the tools that are available, I think I can see how powerful it would be, and I can see how scary it can be. Because in addition to those tools, the nature of the business with Metropolitan is also changing. So changing tools, changing skill sets, changing business. how do you the art of navigating and keeping all these balls while you're juggling in the air is tough. So a
Yeah.
lot of respect. Do you think your experience at ESA would have helped you with that?
Oh yeah, that for sure. It did contribute to it. It was one factor in contributing to it. The fact of juggling a lot of things at once. For sure, the MBA helps you do that. Um, but of course, I still think that in a business itself, you're thrown into the fire, right? Like you probably struggle with this one, or and then in your next one you learn, right? Maybe you fail in this one, maybe you don't do so well in this one, right? But you take that learning into the next one, with whatever it is. It could be with something specific, like how do I leverage AI with this, how do I deal with a remote team. And then maybe the first time you don't do so well, but as long as you reflect on it and you figure out, hey, what exactly went wrong. You use experts and the other way, another thing that I feel like you can learn, or I can learn, is if I'm doing something, I talk to someone who's already done it, maybe already failed a few times. And so that's like almost like jumping into the future for myself. And I can already ask them, but what they've learned or what challenges they faced, and I try to learn from that. The caveat here is not everybody's experience is identical, of course, but I think having mentors is a big thing as well. Um,
Did you get
so sure,
mentors at ESA?
yes, I did. Professors there were fantastic. I hadn't experienced teaching of that quality really in my life until that point. I think until ESA. It made me a bit more of a T person, which was my goal. It gave me some frameworks to think of things, but it's mostly about the people. It's just about the people you meet, expand your perspectives, and just like met really great people, and just for that, it's worth it. But it's not a silver bullet. It's definitely not. Um, the thing is, learning with context is totally different, right? Imagine if you're learning, for example, you go to an accounting class and they teach you, hey, you buy something like a laptop that's depreciated over 4 years, and it's so dry when you learn it like that. But now you've started a business, you've bought a laptop, expensed it to the company, and now you realize, wow, this can make me pay less tax, but I can only count 1/4 of that as an expense. And suddenly this topic becomes the most interesting thing in the world for you. And when you now study this in the MBA, you will grasp every single word. You will hang on to every single word the professor says. So it's learning with the context that makes the huge difference, which is why I think doing an MBA after you've worked a little bit pays off a lot. But yeah, but there were some, that's one of my
I
takes.
was also going to mention, as to what you said, another big thing for Metropolitan is secondary or tertiary language acquisition.
Yeah.
And when you're talking about context, it's not the same thing as somebody who is, once you've learned one language, it's much easier to learn the second one if there's something related to it. Or when you're teaching an adult, we always talk about how fast children learn. I think they learn quickly for different reasons. But when you're talking about more sophisticated concepts, adults may know, what a concept is in their own language, rather than and you try to teach something that's more sophisticated to a child. They still haven't even learned that in their own head, in their own language. And so secondary and tertiary language acquisition, from what I understand, is also very contextual dependent. And not only because
Exactly.
you learn the second, you can learn the third or the fourth, but rather there's ideas and concepts and structures in your mind that will help you learn the next one. And so I was trying to think about whether or not this is one of the underlying strengths of artificial intelligence. We're trying to apply them towards business, because sometimes you do get some really wacky solutions when they come back from ChatGPT. I haven't had anything nasty or negative, just off a little bit. But I would love to understand, how does artificial intelligence, are you aware of how AI is being embraced or not embraced in a traditional education like ESA?
Well, when I studied, didn't exist yet, and I don't know if they are leveraging it, but I hope they are, because it's exactly what you said about the context. If you learn something, right, you try to apply it to your own context, right? I try to apply depreciation to my own context. Sometimes there's not a one-to-one mapping, but here's what you can put into ChatGPT. you can say, look, I've learned this framework. All right. I've learned this framework, Michael Porter's for some framework. We learned it in marketing, right? And then I tell them my problem in marketing. I'm like, I have an AI company, generates AI headshots. My source of customers is primarily organic. How can I apply Michael Porter's marketing framework to my specific use case? And ChatGPT will connect the two for me. So it connects my use case to this framework, which when maybe I didn't see the connections before in my mind, but ChatGPT has a deeper understanding of the framework, and I can tell it my context. Usually, the only one who can do this is if you have a teacher. So if you have a teacher, you can tell the teacher your context, and the teacher will tell you how to apply the framework to your context. But if you don't always have the privilege of having an expert at hand until now, where basically you do have this expert at hand. It's also with programming. I can give ChatGPT my specific situation and context, and it tells me how I can apply algorithms to that context. I think that is the key of ChatGPT in the classroom, where you get contextual learning.
Interesting. Okay, well, tell me a little bit more about what the future looks like for you personally and the Multiverse AI.
Well, for me personally, I'm moving back to Barcelona in August, September. Right now, looking for a place. If anyone knows a place, that would be fantastic. Well, mostly for all the reasons I said. This is a great entrepreneur community as well. We'll be closer to our co-founder. I'm very excited to get back into learning Spanish again. So that's the big move for us, my wife and my child. And for the company, we're constantly trying to stay at the edge. When we started the company, we were at the edge of AI, but the frontier is moving very fast, and we want to stay on that frontier. So right now with the headshots, for example, we were working on making them as accurate as possible. We've reached to a fair amount of almost as good as it can get. Now what we want to do is add little editing features. So people are like, I love my headshot, but I'm wearing a blue suit. I don't like a blue suit. It doesn't suit me. I want a black suit, or I want a background that is gray. So we want to now let people also edit their photos. So to really be like this holistic platform that uses AI to really get you the ideal image that you want. That's one big thing. And then the second thing is also considering now some free tools. So it's offering some of these services at no charge, just so we can reach a wider audience and more people can really see the power of what AI can do, even if they can't afford it right now.
You know, I just met somebody here, and I like him a lot. His name is Slava Timoshenko, and I call him the king of Spain for headshots. So he's a professional photographer. Have you had any pushback or any engagement with professional photographers? How does that has that impacted you at all?
Yes, it's actually interesting to see that the one of the places we posted about our service was on a photography Reddit group, and that was I have never seen as much hate on an online post as when we posted on that channel. And so there was a lot of pushback on how we epitomize the worst of everything. But I think there's also I see synergy here. So a professional photographer has an eye for what makes a photo great, and they can use that in the prompt for the AI. They can use that in making actually good AI generated photos as well. So I think that skill set overlaps. I think photographers can leverage AI, just like ChatGPT can also do my work as a programmer, but a programmer plus ChatGPT can achieve a lot more. I think also a photographer leveraging AI imaging tools can just 10x his ability, rather than just be like, no, I don't want anything to do this. This is stealing my job. I think just embracing it. Yeah.
Fair enough. I would love for you to come and join me. I work in, the office is in the Gay Champla. So when you do come to Barcelona, this is a beautiful neighborhood. Lots of restaurants, cafes, all the stuff that you hear about, the good stuff of Barcelona is right here. So when you find your place, definitely come over here. I'd love to meet Ness, little Ness.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I will do that.
And we have an organization called the American Society that I've been a president of for, I don't know, like 15 years. And here at Metropolitan, we do something called the Expat Happy Hour, where we get people from the international community just come and drink. It's social. You pay whatever you drink.
Okay, all right.
Right now we're doing them at the Dry Martini, but we also sometimes do them at 5-star hotels or a private club or rooftop terraces. So you kind of let the let our members see the different area and iconic locations of Barcelona. I don't have any other questions. I don't know if there's something you'd like to share before we end, but I wanted to thank you so much, Zeeshaan, for being with me today.
Thank you very much, Victor. Of course, I'd like to share my company, the Multiverse.AI. If people want to check it out, they can go there. They can follow me on LinkedIn or Twitter. Zeeshaan Zeeshaan is with 2 A's. Yeah, always happy to meet people, talk to people. Yeah, build on my community. Thank you very much, Victor, for having me.
All right, we're going to end in just a second, but I want you to stay on with me afterwards to
yeah, sure.
Okay.
Of course.
Thank you, and we'll see you soon here in Barcelona. Good luck, and continue the great work that you're doing on the Multiverse.